A federal judge is reviewing the Justice Department's proposed redactions to the Mar-a-Lago search affidavit.
The DOJ had until noon to submit which parts of the document should be kept sealed. The Justice Department has released a statement acknowledging the filing. The DOJ says it, quote, respectfully declines to further comment as the court considers the matter.
Media organizations, including CBS, argued for the affidavit to be made public, but the government is fighting against releasing any part of it. Lawyers said it could compromise the ongoing investigation. After last week's hearing, Judge Reinhart said he was not ready to agree with the DOJ that the entire document should remain sealed. CBS News, Homeland Security, and Justice reporter Nicole Sganga joins us now with more. Nicole, welcome. So walk us through the next steps. When might we hear from the judge on whether he'll accept the DOJ's proposal, and what happens after he makes that decision?
Well, good to be with you both, Elaine. And the short and unsatisfying answer to your question is that we don't know just when Judge Reinhart will come back with his written order. We do anticipate that we will hear from him at some point in writing because federal judges tend to leave a paper trail. What we do know is that he will take one of a couple of options here. He could come back to the government and say that he agrees with their redacted version of this affidavit. And I want to remind our viewers why this is so important. This affidavit, a key document prompting federal agents to investigate, to go in and seize documents from former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home just a few miles from where I'm standing. And so if the judge agrees with the iteration that the government has put forth, we could see that affidavit come out in the days to come. Now, if the judge feels that lawyers for the government have redacted too much, he does not like the version that they have proposed that remains under seal, he could put forth his own version. At that point, the government will have an opportunity to appeal that version. And in that case, we could not see this affidavit, be it fully redacted, partially redacted, for days, if not weeks, Elaine.
Nicole, the Justice Department has said the amount of redactions needed on this document would make it meaningless to the public. But last week, the judge hinted he might not totally agree with that assessment. If the DOJ proposed an almost fully redacted document, what is the likelihood the judge outright rejects it?
Well, two things here. The first being that the judge made clear, while he does not believe at this point, he's not willing to say this document should be left unsealed. It's not up to him whether or not what comes out of, the government's affidavit here, if it's meaningless gibberish, those are Judge Reinhart's words, that's not really his problem. Us in the media, the American public, we will try to piece together this document, parts of this document, and if it looks like Swiss cheese, the judge has made clear that's not really his problem. But he did state in the courtroom that there is a high public interest in this case. His move to at least consider, looking and perhaps releasing parts of this key document is quite unprecedented. And so we did get at least some sense that he is considering, just how much of this document should be released to the public. And we should also note that if this document does come, is released and it is largely blacked out, there still might be some things that we can look for. For instance, we can look to see how many pages is the affidavit. We've heard a lot of, accusations not backed up by evidence from former President Trump, from his legal team, that perhaps this search was hastily done. We might be able to figure out what the timeline on this investigation was. We, have seen and reported ourselves at CBS News that this is months, if not more, in the making. And so there are small clues we might be able to deduce, even from a heavily redacted affidavit.
All right. And Nicole, while we have you, what is the latest on the civil suit that was filed by former President Trump's legal team?
Yeah, Mr. Trump's legal team filed a civil suit in an effort to essentially limit the Justice Department's review of records that were seized from his Mar-a-Lago home by federal law enforcement. The judge essentially responded earlier this week to say, what precisely do you want me to do here? And she asked for clarity on 5 different aspects of the legal argument set out by the former president's legal team, which, read a bit like a political document. She asked first and foremost the precise relief sought by the former president's legal team and the former president, and a little bit about jurisdiction, specifically geographic jurisdiction. So why is this a matter for the federal court here in the Southern District of Florida? Perhaps suggesting that it might be a matter that would appear before the federal court in Washington, D.C. We know that this concerns the National Archives, so a bit of speculation there, but asking precisely about the jurisdiction. And then beyond that, asking the former president's team whether or not they are seeking immediate relief, an immediate injunction. The legal team did not appear to seek out any sort of emergency intervention based on their filing. They did set out in that document a request to ask for a special master to review some of the documents seized by the FBI and to determine whether or not any of those are privileged. And they cited, of course, their executive privilege. So the judge in this case has given the Trump legal team until Friday to respond. She did not specify a time. That means that we could see a response as late as 11:59 p.m. tomorrow, or we could hear back from the Trump legal team. They might ask for an extension in this case.
All right, Nicole Sganga, so much to wade through, and you do it so well. Thank you.
Thank you.